Hello, Eric Sheptuck coming at you. Now, I know I can be rather long-winded. A few people have told me about it over the years. So, I have a solution. A cigarette. I'm going to light this cigarette and make sure that I'm done saying what I have to say by the time this thing runs out. Here we go. Okay, so we see this national news with Donald Trump and the Russia investigation and Robert Mueller and Trump wanting to fire this, that, and the other person. Something he did a lot on The Apprentice. And, you know, I think for once, these local government actually has the solution to a problem that besets the entire nation. We have our first ever elected Attorney General. His name is Karl Racine. He was elected in 2014, the same year that Muriel Bowser became mayor, and he's up for re-election this year, as is she. Well, I won't get into all the details of this local flap between the Office of Open Government and Muriel Bowser, but I will say that the Office of Open Government, which is headed by Tracy Hughes, who the mayor is trying to push out, is the government watchdog, but they are part of the Bowser administration. And the Attorney General, Karl Racine, has suggested that to fix these problems associated with the tension between Bowser and Tracy Hughes is to make the Office of Open Government put it under the Attorney General. It makes sense now that the Attorney General is elected and he is no longer under the mayor, no longer a mayoral appointee. It makes sense to now move the Office of Open Government over to the Office of the Attorney General so that the watchdog is not subservient to the one that they're supposed to watch. It's just basic logic, right? Makes you wonder why they took so long to get as far as they've gotten in terms of taking the AG out from under the mayor. But now they need to take the government watchdog out from under the mayor as well. So I would say that Jeff Sessions should be an elected official, or his replacement should be an elected official as well. That way, the Attorney General is not subservient to the president, and when he has to put the president in check, he doesn't stand a chance of being fired by the person he's supposed to be watching. And that, of course, speaks volumes to the Russia issue. We wouldn't have the Russia issue hanging over our heads still if the Attorney General were not under the president. And not doing too bad. I still got most of my cigarette left. So I'll address a few other quick things. I've noticed that Trump has done his biggest flip-flop in the past couple days. So right after taking office, he pulled out of the TPP, that is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And now he's realizing that Obama, a Democrat, joined the TPP in part to put China in check and to serve as a counterweight against their power. Now Trump is having this precursor to a trade war with China, and he's now realizing that being part of the TPP was what gave us the ability to serve as a counterweight against China's power. So now he wants back in. He's done a lot of flip-flopping, but this has got to be his biggest thus far. So let me say a little bit about North Korea. I see that he's willing to chat with the North Korean president, Kim Jong-un, and that lowers the prospect of us going to war with North Korea, but I wouldn't be overly optimistic about that. I think North Korea is the most powerful nation that Trump would ever try and go to war with. He's not going to try China too quickly. He's not going to try Russia too quickly, but he might try North Korea. He doesn't have that prison inmate mentality where when you walk in to the prison on the first day, you find the biggest, baddest guy, and you just go up to him and you smack the shit out of that motherfucker. Just so you can show what you got, and find out what he's got, and hope that you don't get beaten down. But even if you do get beaten down, you've shown that you've got heart, and people aren't gonna step up to you so quickly because they realize that you got heart and that you'll fight. And Trump always talks about how he'll fight back, but he won't fight the biggest, baddest guy in the prison. He'll go after somebody who's a little bit smaller than he is.
$30, so it's like one.
That's why he's always talking about how he's got the bigger button and the bigger this, and bigger that, but the smaller hands, But so let me see. We haven't heard much about Venezuela lately. I think Trump may have realized that if he starts to fight with Venezuela, that's just all the more reason for the Venezuelans to start coming up through Mexico into the U.S. so they can be safe, So if the U.S. missiles are flying at North Korea, then where do you want to go? You want to go to the U.S. because the missiles are leaving there, going elsewhere, right? So finally, there's the issue of my cigarette almost being out. But there's also the issue of Syria. So we see that France and England are stepping up to deal with Syria. We see that Russia has lowered the prospects of them striking at the U.S. if the U.S. attacks Syria. And so what I see there is that because these European powers are dealing with Syria, that decreases the need for U.S. influence, and I really don't think we're going to have a full-scale war with Syria. I think in the end, Trump is actually just going to back down from the whole Syria thing and let the British and the French take care of it. Of course, he has yapped about how the U.S. needs not be the world police, that we need to let other nations step up to the plate, and maybe he'll actually be consistent with his campaign rhetoric this time around in terms of this issue. But my cigarette's almost out, so I'm going to sign off and take the last few puffs.